friends. Anne here to share the reset practice with you today. What is the reset, you might ask? That is where we're starting from the ground and we're working our way up to standing. And we're doing that through a neutral pelvis, a neutral spine, a co-contracted core that includes our glutes, so that we can kind of come in the back door through our neurodevelopmental stages and remind our body the ways we want to move optimally from a place of integration and set up for success from our pelvis up. So that being said, we're going to come to a wall to start. And we're going to find what's called our triple S. So that is our sacrum, our shoulder blades, our scapula, and our skull. And those 3 points we want all on the same plane. So you're going to bring the heels up to the wall. Take your body to the wall and feel that the back of the skull, the shoulder blades, and your sacrum are all pressing into the wall. You'll probably feel that you have to activate and contract your core, the stabilizing muscles, in to support that. The sacrum, as a reminder, is right above your tailbone and beneath your low back. So there's some fused vertebrae. It's kind of a flattish bone there. So you can palpate it if you want first, so you know where you're aiming. Kind of straight through the low belly, back through is the sacrum. So now that you've felt that on the wall, we're going to make our way down to our mats and feel that on the floor. If you have a block or something that you can put between your thighs for some feedback, you could use paper towel roll or rolled up towel, couch pillow, or yoga block. So come down onto your back and keep the soles of your feet on the floor. Take your block or your block substitution and get it between your thighs as high up as you can. And squeeze there so you feel the inner thigh muscles and their connection up into the pelvic floor. All of that kind of turns on. Lift and spread your toes and then plant them back down and connect your mind's eye to the tripod of your foot, which is the heel, the big ball mound, and the pinky toe ball mound. So you want to feel the kind of lift in the middle of that tripod, which is your arches. And then feel here your sacrum, your shoulder blades, and your skull. So that triple S again. And that's allowing for the neutral curve in your low back and your neck to happen. The chin does pull down towards the throat a bit to elongate the back of the neck. Bring your hands onto your thighs. So we're going to take what we have here, we're going to engage around our core a bit so that we can just lift it straight up into a bridge. Bring the heels of your hands onto your pelvic hip bones, and then your index fingers, bring them right onto your pubic bone. Feel that those 3 points are all on the same plane. Like if you laid a plate on top of them, it would be flat. So you're going to take this straight up with you, this triangle of pubic bone up to the hip points. Everything's hugging in there. Press into the tripod of your feet, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your block, and lift. Keeping that level pelvis, keeping the feedback of the heels of the hands on the pelvic points and the index fingers on the pubic bone. And then drawing in there from side to side and from top to bottom, all of the abdominal muscles for support. Squeeze the block and then take your arms straight up above your shoulders. Feel here just the energy from the ground coming up into the legs, into your core. And then take your left hand and grab the 4 fingers of your right hand and pull them down towards your face, keeping everything else really rigid. Breathing. Feeling the ribs expand into the floor, into the sides, the front. Keeping your right arm straight and keeping the right and left shoulder blades still connecting to the floor. So we're aiming to get a stretch through our wrist and our forearm. And then switch, keeping everything hugging in to support the ribs and the pelvis just as they are. Still breathing and pulling the left fingers down now towards the face. Keeping the chin pulled down towards the front of the throat. Breathing. And this should be like water on the stove, so you should feel the heat building in your glutes and your legs. Good, and then just let your arms come down. And then slowly, using the contracted core, lower your spine down segmentally. Good. If you have a block, you can place that between your knees, or if you don't have a block, that's fine too. But if you do have something you can put between your knee joints, go ahead and do that. We're going to continue up the chain here. We've got our glutes going already. Now we're going to get more of the core muscles active. So bring the hands behind the skull, right on the occiput, that more curvy part of the back of your skull. Let the elbows hug in towards one another. So they're pointing up and almost back a little bit. So that's going to allow for these muscles right beneath your armpits to get involved as you inhale. And then exhale, squeeze everything in around the ribs, lift the shoulder blades off the floor. The low ribs pull down. You're not losing that little arc in your low back, but you feel everything pulling in. A little energetic lift of the tailbone just slightly, and then inhale, lower down. Exhale, lift up, so everything pulls in to lift the shoulder blades off the floor. Take your right hand around to the outer left ribs and just pull them in closer towards midline. See if you can't get a little higher off your left shoulder. Support the weight of your head with your left hand. Right hand behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift, pulling everything in, knitting the low ribs down. The left hand comes around the body. It pulls the right ribs in. You get a little higher off the shoulder blades, still supporting the weight of the head with the right hand. Hand behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. So you can bring the hand around, and these little add-ons are optional. So if it's plenty for you to keep the hands behind the head, do that. If you want to come along, bring the right hand around to the outer left ribs, pull it in, and then twist a little bit towards that left side. Just a tiny little turn from the middle. Come back to center, hand behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. The left hand roots around to the right outer ribs, and then we take our tiny little turn right from the center. Come back to center, hand behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. Right hand reaches around to the outer left ribs. Pull in, get higher off the left shoulder blade. Take a little turn to the left, and then option to lift your right leg, just extending the knee. Pull the tailbone up slightly. Right foot down, right hand behind the head, back to center, inhale and lower. Last one, exhale and lift. Everything hugs in. Left hand reaches around to your outer right ribs. Pull them in, get higher off the right shoulder. Little baby turn to the right. Option to extend your left knee. Keep the low belly pulling in. Little baby lift of the tailbone. Left foot down and release. You should be feeling that, the energy, the heat kind of all pulsing through your body. And then you can hug your knees in, or you could push yourself off to the side. We're going to come onto hands and knees now. So as you can see, we started from the ground. We've got our core muscles activated for us to help us move in bigger ways now off the floor. So the heels of the hands are right underneath your shoulders, and the knees are right underneath the hips. Feel that that low belly is still pulling up to greet the low back. Notice if your head is dropping down. Lift the front of the chin, the front of the throat up towards the back of the throat. Energetically try and spin your hands, but don't let them actually go anywhere. Feel that transfer up into your shoulder blades. So feel the shoulder blades locking onto the back ribs. And then we'll just do a couple serratus puffs here. So keeping that low belly and the low ribs pulling up to greet the low back. Soften the shoulder blades together. The heart comes towards the floor. And then come back to neutral. Soften. The shoulder blades retract together. And then come back, watching that the head isn't dipping. Soften, keep pulling the low belly up, and then press the floor away, back to neutral. One more time. And then back to neutral. Good. So then we'll tuck our toes. We'll lift our knees off the floor. Feel the amount of weight in your hands right now. Don't let that change as you lift the hips higher for your down dog. Not sinking in the shoulders, but keeping that connection from hands all the way up to the shoulders, feeling the arms working. Relax your head. You should be able to just bebop the biceps with your ears. Pull up from the low belly and breathe. Lift the front ribs towards the back ribs. Good, and then walk your hands back towards your feet, sitting into the heels of the feet, hinging into the hips deeper and bending the knees to bring the ribs and the belly onto the thighs. And then as you relax the head, pull the chin into the front of the throat. And then bring your hands onto your shins and start to stand up. Hands will slide up your legs. Once you're lifted and your hands are on your hips, give your glutes a little squeeze for this hip extension, pressing the hips into the hands. So we're going to get familiar with how we want to lift and lower to the floor. The thumbs come into the hip creases right beneath the pelvic points. You're going to sit yourself back as you come down with the chest, keeping the spine long, keeping your triple S, and slide the hands down. The belly comes on the thighs. And then hands slide up. You bring that neutral spine up. It stays in neutral the whole time. And then slide them down. Deepening those hip creases. You can smash your thumbs a little bit and then slide them further down. One more time, standing up. Giving the glutes a little squeeze, pressing the hips into the hands. Good. And then just relax your arms down to your sides. Get the head right on top of the rest of the spine. Take a couple breaths here. Feeling the connection of the tripod of your feet into the floor. Good, and then just walk your way to the top of the mat. Moving in an even bigger pattern now. The arms reach forward and up, the thumbs lead. Take an inhale, not letting the ribs pop forward. And then exhale, sitting back into those hips. The creases are deepening as you bring the hands down. Step your right foot back, lower the knee, and lift yourself up. Arms reach forward and up. Squeeze your right glute to open up the front of the hip. This is a 90-90 lunge. Reaching high, long side seams. Breathe in. And then exhale, hands come down. Step your front foot back to meet the right. Lower your knees down. Get your head in line with the spine. Spin the hands out. Pull the belly up. Squeeze an imaginary block between your thighs. Keep all of that rigid and just bend your elbows to lower yourself with control. Untuck your toes. Press your pubic bone down into the floor. Feel your low back go long with that action. Keep that. pull your hands back. Don't let them actually move, but pull and lift the heart. Inhale. Exhale. Roll over your knees. Downward facing dog. Not sinking in the shoulders. You can walk your feet in a little bit. Relax your head. Breathe. Ribs expand in all directions. Now the right foot, the same foot that stepped back, is going to step forward, dropping the left knee. The top of the foot can untuck. Squeeze the left glute. Inhale, reach up. You're trying to energetically pull your right heel back, keeping those ribs pulled in, the front ribs. And then hands come down, step your back foot forward. Inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale, right back into it, sit back into your hips. Keep your belly on so that the ribs don't dump towards the floor. This time, step your left foot back. Drop your left knee. You can keep the toes tucked under. Lift yourself up. This time, we'll just bring our hands onto both sides of our rib cage and try and lift it up. So this is the action here. Hands around the ribs. I'm trying to lift my rib cage higher to give me more breath space. Breathing in there, keeping the left glute squeezing, breathe in. And then take your arms up. Take another breath in. And then hands come down. Step yourself back to a plank position. Lower your knees down. Feel the shoulder blades on the back ribs. Triple S is still in line here. Dial the hands out. Come down with control. That triangle, the pubic bone, the hip points, they press down into the floor. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, roll over your knees. Downward facing dog, strong arms. Biceps going forward, triceps going back. Lifting from the pit of the belly. Relaxing the neck. And then that same foot steps forward, the left foot. Drop your right knee. You can keep the back toes tucked. Inhale. Lift yourself up. Bring the hands to outer sides of the ribs. Lift the ribs up as you breathe in. And exhale. Do one more here. Inhale. Take your arms up, squeezing that right glute, pulling the front ribs and belly back. And then hands come down, step your back foot forward. Keep the belly on the thighs, bring the hands to cup around the back of your skull. The biggest curve there, just let the hands weight down, the arms weight, gives a little gentle traction to the back of the neck. Good, and then hands slide up the legs as you stand up. Give the glutes a little squeeze. Give your shoulders a little roll, moving from the scapula. Good. And then if you'd like to lay down and take a shavasana or do some more movement, you're all prepped and warmed for that. Thank you so much. I hope this benefits you and you can move with a little bit more pep in your step.